Hello Photoshoppers, my name is Rene, and today I thought we should do a short little Photoshop project, because one very common thing that we haven't done in Photoshop is to wrap some images around text. Now let me give you an example, okay, what happened there? An example like that, or an example like that. You can see the same principle, or an example like this. This is more complex though, because it takes more rendering and more composition as well. So, but you know, the technique with this and that and this as well is all the same. So I thought we could do something like this today. So you see, I have my stocks of flowers ready, and I'll link in the description to these stocks. They are from DeviantArt. But let's create a new document. I'm going to have a width of 800 and a height of 1200 pixels, and I'm just going to press Ctrl U to get up the hue/saturation. I'm going to colorize it, make it a bit darker, and then try to get that color back. I can't even remember how it was, something like that. I think that's fine. But then, and now get your text tool by pressing T, and I have my really awesome quote ready, and I'll just align it a bit like that and that. I think that's good. And if you're wondering, I'm using the font Babas Neu, and also I'm going to kern that a bit. Let me just see. That's better. And I'm going to align that in the middle, like that. Alright, so what are the techniques behind this? So the technique are quite simple, but it can be a bit messy as well. So it's all about take your time, compositing well, have good images, and of course a good idea. But let me show you the basics. So I'll just go ahead and grab a flower right away, and I think I'm going to start out with that flower here. And I think I grabbed some of that flower, didn't I? Pass that in. Now what you want, but if you want even if you want the flower behind the text, you should still pass it on top, like that. I'm going to rasterize it, and I won't worry about making it a smart object. I think I'll pass it in here, make it a bit smaller. So always on top of the text. But what you're going to do with every stock image you use is control clicking on, you know, the text or whatever you're using. I'm using the text. Control click, and you'll see I'll get the selection of that, and then I'll go to the layer and press on the layer mask, and now you'll see it's rendered out. So now I can decide, is it on the text, is it beneath the text, if it is, then select the layer mask and press Ctrl I to invert that, and you'll see now it's beneath. Now why would we do it like that? Because when we have it set it up in this way, it's really easy to control what should be overlapping and what shouldn't. So let me give you an example of that. I think that the leaf here should overlap the F and the L, so I can just painting with white and say this is overlapping. Oh, and that isn't, and that was a mistake. Let me just paint it with white here. And maybe I don't know what else could it overlap. Nothing. I think, you know, that's the basics. But let's go in and get another flower, and I think I'll grab this. I like the look of that. Hold on Alt to make a selection that deselects, in case if you draw like over here, just hold down Alt and you can remove the selection. Alright, so let's try to do it a bit more complex this time. Okay, maybe not the best stock images, but it does the job, especially if you scale it down a bit. So I think for my next text I will pass it in here, something like that, and then I'll do the same. Control click on the text, go to the layer mask, and, you know, decide where I want to have it. And now I can paint in. I think I wanted to be here as well, over the top, and then And now in this case, I want that to be under the text. What you're going to do is going to delete it all like that. And then control click on the text again. And now I want it to be under, so I should paint on the background, if you will, so not on the text. So control shift I to invert the selection and come back, whoops, and then paint in with white, because now it will only paint it under the text, as you can see here. And that's how we can create really complex or really nice looking, interesting looking text by doing that. You know, as you can see here, we would require a lot of stock images, but the techniques is basically the same. Now, one thing we are missing though is the shadow. And actually, I think I made a mistake here, haven't I? I'll just control select the T, come back and paint it with black because I want to erase like that. Fix that. What we haven't done, let's just pass in another flower, shall we? I think I'll go with that flower. I like that. And I still have that new webcam, and I still can't control it properly. I'll pass that in. Control T to get the free transform. What should I do this time? I'm not really feeling it. Perhaps put it here and then flip it. Sure, I'll put it in on here. And I think I want it beneath the text. So Control I, and I will have it to overlap the E, so painting with white. So Photoshop is keeping details and erase. Whoops. So it's keeping like that. And if you made a mistake, like I just did here, just control click on the T, and you will have the selection back again, and you can erase stuff again like that. Or as you actually did make a mistake up here, so it's just control click on the T and paint that in. I can just come in and play a little bit, really, get a lot of details in there. So I think another cool thing to do will be overlap like that. Alright, so one thing that we are definitely missing is shadow. And one thing you could do is create a new layer here just above the text and call that shadow. And then create this clipping mask by right clicking and then select create clipping mask. And as we talked about before, that means that whatever pixels we have here can only exist on these pixels. So if I paint it with black up here, there aren't any pixels here. There are pixels down here where the text is, so if I paint with black here, it would exist. Now that's really handy for creating shadow, so I can just paint in like that, some fast shadows. I still think I can do it a bit harsh like that. Oh, and erase it up here. I don't want it up there. And I see we have some mistake here. What's that? Oh, that's just a problem. Just fix that. Painting black. But I only think that this works if we have some kind of thick image on it, because if we try to create shadows with that example, it won't really look that great. If we fill that in with black or something and only let it exist on the pixels below, apply that layer mask, and then try to create some kind of shadow. And I don't know, it just doesn't look that good if it isn't thick enough. That's just not really that flattering. Maybe you could do it like that, a really subtle effect. But I just wanted you to know that it can be tough to create good shadows. And then we can also, if you think it needs it, you can create a new shadow layer on example that flower wants that to have shadows, so create a new layer and call that flower shadow. And again, create this clipping mask. You can also do it by holding down Alt and click in between of the layers. Get any shadow brush and then start to paint in a shadow like that. So you can see it's a really powerful and beautiful method. You can just pass in a stock images. Let me just erase that and try to align it, you know, whatever looks interesting. One quick tip before finishing off, you can you know, make this selection as we've done a lot of times, and then untick this anchor. That means that when you move the layer mask won't move. So now I can just move it around, and then it might but just be easier to find a place for this. Maybe, you know, get the negative of that layer mask, and I'll see maybe that this overlap is particularly cool or something. I actually think this is cool, just coming out from the E like that, and the M. Just a really powerful technique. You know, you can get a really interesting looking picture in no time by doing this. There should be a B somewhere. Why aren't there a B? Well, okay, but before finishing off, it is kind of a hipster effect again, isn't it? So why not add this curves layer and then fade out the black, and let us just see what that did. So this is before and this is after. In case you don't know what this fading out is, then you can see this color here is now moved to that color here. So before it was 100% black, now it's 80% black, and then it's just gradually doing that to all the pixels. So that gray here is now that gray up here. So you can see everything gets slightly lighter except the light. The white, it can't get whiter, but you know, just gradually getting whiter the darker the pixels are, and that's a really nice finishing touch for this hipster effect, and just interesting and great technique. If you found this useful, please like and share. It helps me out a lot. Anyways, thank you for watching. Enjoy.